Is he experiencing technical difficulties again?
Nope, because our friend Doug has got it under control. Thanks, buddy. Although we were having technical issues with the sound on the first couple takes. So thank you, as always, to Doug, the man with the magic spirit fingers behind the scenes, taking care of business, making sure that the show must go on. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, everybody in between these days. Thank you for being here with me. I appreciate you tuning in to episode number 8 of the Rob Anderson Show, Foundational Healing. Drum roll, please. We're not going to add that effect in because Doug took the day off, and I don't feel like editing this post because it takes a really long time, and I want it to be present and authentic. But today's episode is brought to you by a very special person who recommended it to me, and that is my brother. And him and I have always bonded over music. And he said, he's learning to play the guitar. And he said, you know what, you should do your next episode on the healing of power of music. So thank you to my brother for that suggestion. And that's what today's topic is the healing power of music. All right, so let me get some of this straight whiskey in me. Oh, it's so good, laddie. Hits you right in the belly. Oh, yeah. All right. So today, the healing power of music. And as I mentioned, my brother and I, we've always bonded over music since we were kids. I think everybody, it doesn't matter your race, culture, color, or creed. Every place, every culture has its own form of music, whether it's, hymns or singing together in circles or instruments. Obviously, today's modern world, there's very, very advanced electronic instruments. A lot of stuff is digital these days, but music is a very, very primitive thing. The world is based around frequency and vibration. Everything is frequency and vibration. So, even if you just have a few people together and you want to start a barbershop quartet, there's healing power in that music. And actually, I think probably some of the most healing frequencies, the most powerful music that we could heal from are people's natural harmonics. So, hearing people live music, there's no substitute for it. That's where you're going to really feel the vibration. You're going to get all the frequencies that you probably won't hear depending on how you're listening to it. But if you go to a big venue and they have really massive speakers, a wide, diverse range of subwoofers and mid-range and tweeters, um, then you're gonna hear a lot of frequencies that you wouldn't, coming out of a computer or smaller headphones or home stereos. And in fact, radios are actually mono, so you won't get stereo from those, anyways. But so there's no substitute for live music, and that's where you're going to get the most healing benefits from music is live music, or back in the day when they recorded it to vinyl, before things were digitally remastered because I think the digital recording process probably removes a lot of those harmonics and things like that. So some of those natural healing frequencies might be missing from digital recordings or stuff that's been digitally remastered. And so there's a lot of different healing aspects to music. So it's not just the music itself. So the healing frequencies. So say if you had a group of people, doing and they were all doing different frequencies. You have soprano, bass, tenor, and all that jazz. I'm not an expert on all those different levels of voices, but they're all different frequencies and different ranges and everything. So to have a diverse range of frequencies, definitely more healing. If they're harmonic, definitely they've probably got a more harmonious, soothing effect than disharmonic frequencies. So although this episode in particular is about the healing aspect of music and everything is frequency, there is a dark side to that too, because frequencies can be used to harm or injure. And so I'll get to that later. Let's stick to the positive stuff at the very beginning. So not only can there be healing frequencies, there's even been studies about sound being used to heal cancer and things like that and different things, which I think there's a lot of validity to because in this day and age, especially, we're subject to so many unnatural frequencies. If you think about LED lights, radio waves, TV towers, cell phone towers, who knows what else, satellite signals, all this stuff, the dirty power in your household, the electric frequencies, there's just so much that we can't see that we're being exposed to, and we're not really sure about exactly how those things are affecting us long term. We think they're safe because somebody put them out there telling us that they were, but we don't know um, what the the net impact, the long-term effects of some of the stuff that we're being, like noise pollution or uh, whatever you want to call it, that we're being subject to. But if you go out in nature, I can tell you right now that there's no substitute for the healing powers and the frequencies found in nature. So I myself, several times a week, I take a walk either down by the creek slash river, or go down to the lake and jump in, and always take a path what I can. Even though I live in the city, I try to find the small wooded areas or the paths that are amongst the trees, not necessarily on the road. So I get to hear all the birds and get the healing frequencies from the air and the sun. And when I'm down by the lake, the lapping sound of the waves splashing up against the shore, all just amazing, amazing health benefits. So, if you'll notice, I'm switching cups. I got coffee in one hand and the vodka in the other hand. I'm double fisting today. So I've been up since 3:30 a.m., all right? And so it's coming up on 1 o'clock. So it's been a long one. And so another about the healing power of music, not just the frequencies of the music itself, but also the experience of creating it, the creative expression. Although it can be frustrating to learn how to play, sometimes it's a lot of fun if you don't take it too seriously and you enjoy the process and you're not attached to outcomes. It's really interesting. So the creating it, learning it, really brings you into the moment. So I know for myself that I'm just kind of dabbling to. I've been. So yeah, to circle it, reel it back in here and cast it back to 1983, a rainy day, my birthday. Um, when I was young, I think all of us, if you grew up in the Western world, we were probably exposed to specific types of music, rock and roll of this era, and all those things. And if you grew up in different countries, say India, they would have different music that they were exposed to, the mainstream music and things like that. And so you probably heard, either your parents playing their records, if you're my age, when I was young and when I was born in the 80s, tapes and records and 8 tracks were big in the day. So we kind of grew up listening to our parents' music. And so you kind of develop your taste from there. But I really loved when I was a kid, I really loved the drums. So I started playing drums and I played for a few years, and one thing led to another, and my neighbors and we were renting out a part of the basement a few years later, and so the neighbors and the tenants weren't such fans of drums. So I sold the drums and bought a dirt bike and went exploring on that. But the creative expression of playing music and making music, and so it can be something that you can do on your own or in a band with other people. I remember one of our first gigs, I played the drums and my brother played the keyboard, and I think we did, I think it was a Christmas concert or something like that, played a few songs at the local music store when we were kids. So we couldn't have been more than, about 7 or 8 at the time. But it's a really diverse form of creative expression. So it can have its healing benefits from not only the tones and the notes and the frequencies itself, but also just spending the time being in the moment, creating. And it can be individual or in a group setting. So, whether you're, like I said, playing instruments in a band or singing, you can sing. I sing alone in the shower. Things like that, and it's very good, and it's probably one of the best exercises. Even if you don't think you're a good singer, who cares? There's nobody around to judge you, and if there is, you know, just do you. And it's a good way to express and release energy and be creative and expand your voice, your vocal range, your form of creative expression. Our voice is one of the most I guess what you would call it, like the most for me, I guess the most immediate ways of self-expression. So that's why I really love music and dancing, or singing, sorry, and dancing, because you don't need any other instruments except for the ones that you were born with. Your body for dancing and movement, and your voice for singing with. So those are very immediate things that don't cost anything. So it doesn't matter if you have no money in the bank, you can always sing and dance, right? So you don't need to be like, well, I need to buy a $3,000 keyboard or something like that. There doesn't need to be this big barrier of entry into enjoying the benefits of those things. So let me just take a look without my glasses and make sure I'm staying on track here today. So yeah, another benefit, one of the healing powers of music is being present in the moment. And I don't know if you guys out there, for musicians or people, if you're wondering if you've never played an instrument or thought about it, one of the wonderful aspects of it is being present in the moment. And so there's times, even I was having this chat with my brother and we were talking about getting in that flow state. And when you turn the monkey mind off and like for him, he's learning to play the guitar, and he said he was just so in the flow, like he was recording something and he just started playing, but he started playing, he went to that almost that next level where you're like in source energy and everything's available to you. And maybe you just started, but you start playing like you've been doing it for years, and you kind of get it. And he said he was mentioning that like he tried it again the next day and it was like, no, back to that. But any artist or musician will tell you about being in that flow state. And that's such a good, powerful benefit of it, such a healing aspect. Anytime you can do something that you're just immediate in the present moment and the rest of the world just disappears, because it doesn't really exist anyways, then that's a very powerful thing. So the healing power of music, of the frequencies itself, but also playing the music or creating it and being in that flow state and tuning out the outside world and just, jamming or whatever. And for myself, as I got older, I really got into digital music because I had a keyboard. So I really liked messing around, making beat loops and then playing things. I'm learning to play the piano now, self-teaching myself because I want to understand music theory, music language. I didn't really, I kind of know what sounds good. I just use my ear, and if it sounds good, it sounds good. And if it does, it doesn't. But I started making beats on a keyboard and then playing little chords and this and that and keys and notes. And then when I was, when computers came out, there was a lot of getting into electronic music. So using programs like Fruity Loops or Ableton or Pro Tools or whatever it is, you could start messing around with those. You could download a demo and have access to that. And I found that really creative. And as I got older, I always thought DJing looked so cool, and I always wanted to do that. And when I was, I think about 18 or whatever, I started going to raves and learning about that. And so that was something that I really loved doing because um, and not DJing as like back in the day where just putting on a record and playing it like at a radio station, but actually with electronic music and beat matching. So the beats being in sync and blending two tracks together or remixing them on the fly. That was what I was really interested in doing, or layering them over each other and creating something entirely new out of two pieces of other artists' work, which was very, very awesome. And getting in that flow state, that was something, I used to stay up till 2, 3 a.m., like had to almost force myself to go to sleep because I would just be so in the moment and creative and just doing my thing. And that's very healing. Anytime you can be so passionate about something that the rest of the world falls away and you can be in that moment, you're connected to source, you're passionate, you're not thinking, you're just doing, you're just creating, you're just expressing, and that's very powerful. So I think that's the next topic um, that I wanted to talk about the healing power of music. So you got the healing frequencies and also, the ability to bring it into the moment and create, you never know. Like you don't have to, that's the fun part about it. It can be frustrating when you're first learning how to do something, but it can also be fun. So for myself, I'm not good at following directions, like, going through the tutorials of like learning how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb and When the Saints Go Marching In and on the piano. It's like, oh, like I don't want to play those songs. So I often make my own riffs and keys, and that's why I started doing it on electronic music, because you don't need to be you don't need to be Beethoven to be able to play something. You can play little pieces and record it, and then layer them and move them around and just see what's working and what's not. So you can have a little bit more fun. But I think at one point I do want to be able to like really learn how to tickle the ivories like a legend. And so that's the another healing thing about music is that it's so diverse. It's a lifelong passion, There's never total mastery. There's always new ways to create So whether you're an avid listener, even the healing power of music, just listening to things and getting taken away, dancing, being present in the moment. I know that I never really danced, not in public anyways, until I was mentioned going when I was 18 to those raves. And maybe I would dance around silly at my house with my family or something like that, but never in public until until one time finally I didn't care and I was just off and dancing and I realized I didn't realize how much I actually loved dancing until I was 18 years old. So don't hold yourself back. If you love dancing, you don't have to be in public to do it and enjoy it. Even myself on my daily workouts, I more often than not throw on music and in between doing whatever I do, some yoga, stretching, tai chi, a few light weights, I'm dancing around and just having the time of my life. And you don't need to know how to dance. You can just do whatever. And if you want to follow some sort of routine or whatever, but just enjoying that healing aspect of music as well, the music that moves you, gets the chi, the life force energy, the prana moving through your body. It's amazing. And so that's another good way that music can bring you into the present moment and have healing benefits because you get the energy. A lot of dis-ease in our world is just blocked energy, thoughts, densities, judgments. I can't dance. That's just negative thought energy. Trust me, you can dance. And even myself, I couldn't do dance moves. Now I'm 41 and things that I can do now and that I never thought I would be able to do 10 years ago just because I was not in proper alignment, didn't have good physical health, just didn't have proper balance. And now that I've been taking care of all those things on my foundational healing, I can do things and dance moves that I never thought would be possible. So don't give up and just keep on doing it and have fun with it. And find a place to do it where and dance like nobody's watching, like the like the saying goes, because they're not. They're probably on their phone, right? All right, so there's another healing aspect of listening to music in dancing. So also, I wanted to mention briefly too, because with the advent of the digitization of music, along came electronic music. And so I think some of that, even though it would open the door for a lot of things and a lot of new music, some of that music that I listened to a lot of electro house and a lot of electro made dance music. And some of it was very like, if you listen to dubstep and some of those drum and bass things, they're very, very like synth driven, sawtooth or square tooth sounds. I don't know if those are the best frequencies to be absorbing. I heard a gentleman talking that any like sawtooth or electro sound that like has a sawtooth or a square wave or anything that's not a sine wave is very unnatural and disharmonious to us. So it might be doing more harm than good. So just be mindful of, how music makes you feel. If you're like me, I love so many different, such a variety of music. And that's a very cool thing that makes it a lifelong passion because I know when I grew up, when I was listening to my parents' old records, and then, as music progresses in the 90s, grunge rock and Nirvana and things like that were popular. And then hip hop came out. So I started getting into that. And then, as I mentioned, when I was 18 years old or so, I started listening more to electronic music, house and trance, techno from overseas in Europe and Detroit and things like that. So it was like this whole world opened up, especially with the internet, and I just loved it. I just ate it up because I could go find music from all over the world through online music stores. So whether at first I started ordering records because I really wanted to DJ vinyl. So that's how I started DJing was on vinyl. And so I remember, I think my first order of records was from UK Records or whatever. It was from a UK store. I forget the website. But now you would have the ability to search music from all over the world. So you could see what was big in different continents, different countries, what other people were listening to. And so there's just so much out there, so much to expand your horizons. And now even the past few years, I've been listening to a lot of classical music just because there's different, as they say, different strokes for different folks. But I think there's a time and place for all types of music, as a DJ, DJing at different times during the day or even the night, you have to know what's appropriate for different times. So, an afternoon or sunset mix by the beach is something that you would play totally different than a 2 a.m. peak hour, get the crowd going between 2 and 4 a.m., and then after that, you'd kind of settle it down and maybe bring the tempo down a little bit. So you got to know what to play, how to play it, when to play it. And there's a time and place for classical music. And as I learn more about that and film and making videos, you don't want to limit yourself to one style of music because a lot of times I showed a friend an example of a motorcycle video that we did to AWOL Nation Sail, and so it was made specifically for that song, and it goes very well with it. And if you just lay any song over top of it, it doesn't necessarily fit. But I found a song from Beethoven, I think it's Nocturne OP 55 or something, and it's classical and it's very slow and doom doom, very very slow classical, and just coincidentally, it fits that video. It almost fits perfectly, and it's totally different. But there's so many versions of other different types of songs that you could throw on there, and it just wouldn't fit. The flow wouldn't, go. It wouldn't make sense. So there's just such a diverse range of music and eclectic vibes from all over the world that you could travel and you could discover. And there's different types of instruments that are popular in different cultures and different things. And there's just so much to explore. So it's this lifelong passion that will always be renewing itself. There's always more to learn. That you could never in one lifetime learn how to play all the instruments. So, so many things. So I wanted to jump back and say that I've recently been looking into the sine wave versus the electro wave. So I'm kind of studying that right now. And so some of the healing aspects, there's a lot of people that talk about there about like, oh, music was corrupted from 432 hertz to 440 hertz and all this stuff. And I don't know. You have to do your own research on that. I don't want to provide you with any absolution about what feels good to you. I think that if we trust our spirit and listen for ourselves, which is by the name one of the names of my first DJ mix is listen for yourself. If you listen for yourself, sorry if I'm making loud noises on the microphone, but listen for yourself, what feels good. And that's what I wanted to talk about the next part, the dark side of music, because well, what if music has been manipulated? And I have read some things, and whether they're conspiracy theory or not, is up for you to decide. But I can see how music would be manipulated, just like TV in the 13th frame and putting quick flashes of images for subliminal messaging. There could be subliminal messages hidden within music, and then there's some not so subliminal messages. When hip hop came out, a lot of that was. I don't know. I think there's a difference between hip hop and rap because hip hop had a good vibe and there was, the fun, dancey aspect to it, not the gangster stuff. Then the gangster rap came out, and I got sucked into that because it was as a Rage Against the Machine type of teenager. It was very anti-establishment, although it was probably created by the establishment just to create more division, right? And divide people further. But there is kind of a dark side to music. I believe that there is probably some negative subliminal messages. And as I mentioned, the not so subliminal, the more overt stuff, very derogatory. Some of the old school rap and hip hop is very derogatory towards women and just like, lifestyle in general and not, drink and smoke and all that stuff. And that gets, you hear that with a catchy tune behind it, it gets imprinted into you. It's just, it's not even, they're not even hiding it. So like when you're listening to that, as a rebellious teenager, yeah, you're like, yeah, fuck the system. Let's go drinking, smoking, straight West Coasting, all that stuff. It's easy to get sucked into. So there's that aspect to it as well. And then also, so the disharmonic frequencies. I don't know about you guys, but I hear a lot of pop music that's on the radio these days, and I just can't even listen to it. It's just to me it sounds off. I'd rather listen or DJ to some really nice organic. I call it organic house. I've always had a good appreciation for that, for like congos and wood blocks and stuff that's maybe like different types of drums and percussive instruments and things like that, and more natural sounding frequencies. I've always had something a love for that, even though I did DJ a lot of electro house and different types of electronic music too. But I always have this really kind of primitive tribal vibe and love for that music. Like I always think if the power was cut off, I don't know if you've ever seen The Matrix and they go into what is it, Zion or whatever, and then there's no power or whatever, and they got the big drums and they got that kind of tribal elements to the track. So it's like if all the electricity went out, what kind of dance music could we make with like guitars and things without, just whatever we had at our disposal, different types of drums and instruments like that, wood blocks and congas and whatever, tambourines and things like that, right? Shakers. So but there are a lot of disharmonic frequencies and even auto tuning in people's voices. It just sounds so artificial, and I don't know what the long-term results of all that stuff is. I feel like a lot of it is mental manipulation, and some people, I just can't listen to the new music, and all the artists, they sound the same. Like a lot of, especially the female artists, or the male artists, like with the vocoders and the auto tune. It's too much. And not to mention the beats, and so, it's just like the lowest common denominator of music. Like I was going for a walk down by the just the path, and the local high school, there was a field there, and it wasn't even high school kids. These kids, I don't know what kind of hip hop or rap they had playing, and it was just like, oh, and just like really horrible crap. And I don't like to judge, but it was like, and these kids weren't even teenagers. They were like knee high to a dime or whatever they say it. I couldn't, I think the oldest one was probably 10, and they were listening to this crap, and I was just like, oh my God, I just felt bad for them because like, what's it doing to them, right? So, um, let me just see here. I'm gonna move my page over to this side. Forgive my reach, pardon my reach. Um, so yeah, so the disharmonious frequencies and all that stuff, and then so another part, sometimes maybe music, it could trigger us. Maybe sometimes it triggers a sadness in us. So it's a song that you had like, at your wedding, and then you got a divorce, and then you hear it and you cry. And so sometimes it has triggers. It might court us to people, places, and things. And so those aren't necessarily the dark side, necessarily a dark side of music, but it is something to be weary of. And also the lyrics, like what are the lyrics saying? Like I mentioned some of the hip hop songs and things like that, but like what are they courting to you? Like a lot of those cheesy love songs, they kind of like bring you into a certain state. So it's like, well, if you got to ask, how does that music affect you? Why are you listening to it? And things like that. So what else? And yeah, so a lot of it is, like I mentioned, repetitive, and it's called a hook for a reason. So, it's a lot of it, a repetitive beat with the hook and the chorus and the same thing over and over again. So it's catchy. It gets stuck in your head, like they call it an earworm, and then you're singing it. And that kind of puts you on timelines or thinking about things, or, it can cord you to people, places, and things. So there is a darker side to music, but that's not the focus of this show. But I think it's good to present a balanced subjective, sorry, objective view of it, and just to let people be wary of, like, what are we listening to? What are the consequences of it? How has it affected us? And what are the kids listening to? Because, I go back and I listen to some of the stuff that I used to listen to, and I'm like, oh, geez, some of it's fun and takes a trip down memory lane. And then the other stuff is just like, oh, I got to pot and just stop that because it's just, I can't believe I listened to that. So to circle back and bring it on home, the healing power of music, energy, frequency, and vibration. There's a lot of things out there to study. Go check out the healing. The like Nikola Tesla said, everything is frequency, vibration, and so it's true. And so I think that positive, harmonious frequencies, music, voices, that's why as I mentioned earlier, the old music that was, recorded straight to a phonograph or a record directly from, oh, that's my half-hour timer, so I got to wrap it up. But recorded directly from the phone, from the recording. So people's voices, if you could find those old records from the 70s before they digitized everything, that's, the harmonics of people's voices, the light in their voice is going to come through way more. So it's going to uplift you even more because it's those true frequencies that are just ingrained on the I guess the hard copy of that phonograph record. And so a lot of that, if it's been digitized, and a lot of the speakers these days and the devices, like we're listening to stuff on electronic devices, pardon me. So we're losing a lot of those frequencies. So that's why it's very powerful to go listen to live music when you can. And so another very special thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is the power of our own voice, our own intention, our own vibration, and Dr. Emoto and the healing power of water and frequency on water. And if you've never looked at Dr. Emoto's or heard of Dr. Emoto's work, I forget what his last name. It's like Matsusuryo. I'll provide a link down below so you can check it out. Amazing work. I think there's a documentary called The Secret of Water that's by him, and it's about re-energizing your water, live water through vortexes, things through mountain streams, and how much devastating that our current the like at least in North America, our current system of pipes and 90-degree angles and just the water system, not to mention what they put in the water, but the way it's directed to us through the pipe system just totally kills it. So it's very powerful. I always restructure my water. So after I pour it, I drink distilled water. I stir it with a silver spoon and create a vortex in it. And then I do a mind to heart drop and I command my spirit to heal, balance, and bless this water with peace energy and awaken, the divine frequency and intelligence within the water, to provide me with the frequencies and healing energy and structures that I need in the moment. So I think the divine intelligence, I feel that the divine intelligence in the water, if you communicate with it and drink it in a sacred manner and charge it and restructure it, it'll know what you need. And so that's a very, take back drinking your water. I used to be the kind of guy that would like just chug as much water as possible. Now take small sips, just a little sip, swoosh it around in your mouth, let it trickle down your throat, um, and bring back the sacredness in the act of drinking your water and restructure it. And Dr. Emoto shows some very, very, when they freeze the water and put it under an electron microscope to show the structure of it. So water that's been exposed to words or energies of hate or, negative vibratory actions or disharmonic music, heavy metal. I don't want to rain on a heavy metal parade, but the difference in the water structure of negative music or hurtful words or intentions versus, very harmonious, say, music, whether it be, there's all types of harmonious music. It doesn't necessarily need to be classical music, but classical music does have a very harmonious, angelic type of frequencies to it. Like if you think of the sound of something beautiful played on a harp versus like, heavy metal or grunge or something that's, or whatever. I don't know what that's called. You've heard it though, right? So yes, that's it for me today. Roberto, I appreciate you guys joining me. Check out Dr. Emoto's work in the healing power of frequency, vibration, music in general. And please drop me a line in the comments down below and share how music has helped you. Because sometimes, it can be healing just to go in the backyard and listen to your favorite music to shut it off. You don't necessarily need to play it. You can just enjoy it and just be present in the moment and dance and be free and whatever you feel like doing. So yeah, I always love comments, questions, suggestions. So drop me a line in the comment section down below. And if you found value from this video, please share it with your family, friends, neighbors, plants, animals, dogs, and share some of the healing frequencies with them. And I'll even I think it was the last one I put some of my DJ mixes. So if you're looking for some new music, I'll put some of my DJ mixes down below because I always love exploring new music and especially dance music, music that gets you moving. And I love hearing how people, the feedback that I get from how they use my mixes. I have friends that have used them in yoga classes, people that when they're cleaning the house or doing a workout or on long drives or at the ski hill, just so many times, people explain to me, oh yeah, I listen to your mix when I'm doing this or whatever. I always love listening to music when I'm outside working on my motorcycle in the garage. So please let me know and share with me if you have music that you love that you've made that has helped heal you. Please share it with me. I love music. I love hearing new music and expanding my horizons. So I think that is it. And that's all. I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. And, let's just use the power of energy, frequency, vibration, and music to heal us and bring in that golden age for mankind. Love you guys and peace out.